What we're going to do in this section is we're going to go ahead and talk about the different ways that we can control the user experience in Liferay. Now this is going to be the same introduction for both modules 3 and 4. So if you've come from one or the other, you can go ahead and skip this introduction if you'd like. For module 3, we're going to go ahead and focus specifically on how we can control the presentation of widgets on the page in Liferay. And in module 4, we're going to focus on how we can control web content, we can create fragments, and build layout templates as well. So to start, what we want to do is we want to introduce the fact that in order to control HTML in Liferay, we are making use of the FreeMarker templating language. Now the reason we're doing this in Liferay is because this gives us the ability to leverage Liferay's Java API, which gives us a lot of control within the HTML itself. If you've come from module 2, you may have already seen how we use FreeMarker in the themes. So in these modules 3 and 4, we're going to go ahead and talk about how we can use this in context of our templates on the platform. So FreeMarker has a number of different constructs that we can use. We can use things like variables, arithmetic, logical operators. We can include things. Of course, we can create comments. And most importantly, what we can do is we can create if statements, things like lists, or even run macros. This gives us a lot of power in our HTML. And as front-end developers, we have the ability to make sure that we can provide the best experience for those who are actually going to be working with widgets or content on the pages. So the way we do this, again, is by making use of these FreeMarker templates on the platform. So there are a number of different FreeMarker templates on the platform. So we'll just go right into this. We have widget templates, which, like I said, for module 3, we will focus on primarily. And these are going to be FreeMarker templates that allow us to control the presentation of widgets like the asset publisher, navigation, different things like that. We also have web content templates, which are specific templates for the web content asset, where we can reference information from our structure fields. We also have workflow notification templates. Now, we're not going to spend any time on that in these modules, but feel free to take a look at our documentation if you're interested. This just allows you to control the presentation of your workflow notifications, which could be email notifications or on-platform notifications. We also, of course, have our theme templates, and those are going to be the templates used to control the general HTML for our pages. And again, if you've come from module 2, you've seen how we've used these in the context of building a theme module. Now in these modules 3 and 4, what we're going to do is we're going to look at how we can build these templates primarily on the platform. But it is important to note, and I will note it again when we get to the exercises, in order to have the best upgrade experience for Liferay, it is important that you have a deployment process for your templates on the platform. So using different deployment tools, also potentially even bringing these in through a theme module itself. Now the reason for this is because it's important to note that if you are building templates and saving them on the platform itself, it's going to save that code to the database, and that makes it much more difficult to actually upgrade if there's any API changes. So it's important for you to know the more you can keep within a deployment process using tools like GitHub and NPM, the better it's going to be for you in the future. Now there are some other ways to control the user experience as well. Again, in module 4, we will primarily talk about these, but one of the newer ways that we can do it is through the use of page fragments. Now page fragments right now are broken up into 2 different types. There's sections and components, and they are built using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You can just use HTML, you can just use JavaScript, that's up to you, but you can use all of those together to build your fragments. Now in general, the reason that you would want to use fragments is because these allow you to build sections of the pages that can be edited by your content or marketing teams. Like I said, there's 2 different types. There's sections and components. Sections are going to primarily consist of things like columns and rows where you want to place the different components within your fragments. And of course, the components are going to be the different aspects of the fragment itself, perhaps even the editable aspects of the fragment, such as text or images or links. Alright, and these fragments are organized in collections. Now, as we'll talk about in module 4, there are some tools we can use to build this outside of the platform, some NPM generators, but that's something that we'll get to in the context of module 4. One of the other ways that you can control the presentation of your pages is through what are called layout templates. Now, layout templates are going to be grid-like structures that allow us to control where widgets go on any given Liferay page. Now, specifically, this would be widget pages in this context. When it comes to content pages in Liferay, that's where your fragment sections will come in to control the layout of your different fragments. This is something that we will build in module 4 as well. So that gives us the general overview of what we're looking at. So we're looking at templates, we're looking at fragments, and we're looking at our layout templates. So for module 3, we'll dig into the widget templates. For module 4, we will specifically look at web content templates, fragments, and layouts. So let's go ahead and summarize this introduction. Now you can go ahead and pause here if you want to think about these different sentences. You can go ahead and fill in the blank on your own. You can go ahead and unpause, and we'll go ahead and walk through this together. So what we have here is free marker templates are going to allow developers to customize and provide stylings for things like widgets, content, and notifications. Developers can take advantage of the theme resources importer, for example, to add web content and widget templates to a deployment process, and that's just one way in which they can do that. Web content templates can be used to control the presentation of web content. Widget templates are what we use to control the presentation of widgets, and then we also have page fragments, which are going to be reusable HTML, CSS, and JavaScript sections and or components that can be added to a content page, and layout templates, which are used to control the grid-like structure of a widget page so we can determine where the actual widgets place on a page. So if you're coming from module 3, we're going to go ahead and dive into the widget template aspect of this. If you're coming from module 4, then we'll go ahead and dive into those web content templates, fragments, and layouts. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and talk about how we can control the web content presentation on the Liferay platform. So if you're not already aware of this, web content is one of the most commonly used assets in Liferay, and one of the reasons for that is because of how flexible it is. With web content, you have the ability to generate some static HTML images, or you can use templates to do a little bit more complex design and even building small workable applications. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this works on the platform. So with web content, what you can do is you can create different types of web content. So what do I mean by that? I mean, if I want to make it easier for my content creators to be able to create press releases or to create a featured structure or something along those lines, I can do that using what are called structures and templates. So structures allow me to define what fields need to be filled out for the web content. Does it need a title? Does it need an image? Do you need to identify some sort of date for publication? Anything along those lines you can build a structure for, and the structure is ultimately going to determine the name of the new type of content. So again, if it's a press release, you would name your structure something like press release or press release structure, and your content creators would know that they could go in and they can add a new press release or press release structure. Now the web content template is going to be our free marker template that is ultimately going to control the presentation of the data from our structure. Now these free marker templates can also have CSS and JavaScript included as well. Now again, in order to create different web content types, we can create new structures, and we have a number of fields available to us. So we have things like Boolean, date, text box, we have links to pages, HTML, etc., etc. So if you haven't built a structure before, I'd highly recommend taking a look at this in the platform, and of course, we'll go ahead and take a look at this in our exercises as well. This is just an example of a free marker template making use of some of those clay classes. We have some card classes in there, and we're basically taking the information in here. And what's important is that our template is using that acronym .getData variable in this case. So that getData method is getting information from our structure. So again, we'll see this in more detail as we walk through the exercise together and create a featured hotel structure and template for the Livingston Hotels and Resorts. Now, in addition to building templates that we have linked to our structures, there is also the concept of what are called generic templates on the platform. And generic templates are essentially these web content templates that are not tied to an individual structure. So what this means is if you want to use some of the tag libs or you want to use some components, perhaps you want to embed a widget or something along those lines, you can do it with a generic web content template that's not attached to a structure, and then you can go ahead and include that template in your other web content templates. So it gives us the kind of modularity that we've seen in Module 2 when we were working with themes. You're able to break out the different kinds of design elements you want in different templates and then include them into the web content template that you're working with that's attached to a structure. So this brings us to the summary for this section. So you can go ahead and pause the video here if you want to go ahead and think about what you would place in these blanks, and then we can go ahead and work through the summary together. So first off, we have web content structures being used to create new types of content with defined fields to determine what information needs to be added. Web content templates are going to reference those structured fields to control the presentation of web content. And our templates will inherit the SCSS and Clay components that we get from our theme. And then lastly, you can build generic templates that can be used as standalone templates that can be included in our other web content templates along with our structures. This gives us more of that modular approach. So what we're going to do next is we're going to build a structure and template together for our featured hotels, and then we'll continue on from there. So let's go ahead and dive into the exercises next.